Hi, I'm Jennifer of Celtic Knot Crochet, and today in this video I'll be showing you how to make the crochet tote bag. If you like this project, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to click to subscribe. Let's get started. This crochet tote bag is an easy crochet project because it uses a simple variation of the single crochet stitch. I came up with this idea when I was working on another recent design of mine called the Easy Crochet Zipper Pouch. This stitch pattern right here needs to have at least two colors, but I thought, what about adding a third color? I wonder what that looks like. So while I was working on a little example of this pattern using three colors, I happened to notice that on the wrong side I had a really neat effect, and this is what it looks like. So this tote bag here is the wrong side of this stitch pattern. But just in case you can't decide and you like both stitch patterns done in three colors, I've also created this tote bag here to be reversible, and I'll show you how to do all the different steps so that it is fully reversible. If you don't want to do it reversible, then there's a few things that are easier for you. It is a little more complicated to make it reversible and takes a little bit more time, but you do the stitch the same way. So let's get going on supplies, and then I'll explain each step of this project for you. To make the crochet tote bag, you're going to need some cotton yarn. I use Circulo's Natural Cotton Max Color 4/6 in this pretty red, white, and then I found this yarn at my local Walmart. It's Peaches and Cream, and I love this blue color. And I thought it looked really pretty with the red and the white. All the supplies are listed in the description below, and you'll see a place where you can click to purchase. You'll also need size J or 6mm crochet hook, a tapestry needle, some scissors, and then you might want a measuring tape if you want to make your tote bag a different size. I show you how you can adjust the size easily. Also, the total number of yards you'll need of yarn is 750 yards for my tote bag. My tote bag is approximately 10 inches tall by 10.5 inches wide. But since there is more red in my tote bag than there is the other two colors, you'll need, of the red, you'll need 325 yards approximately, and then of each of the white and blue, you'll need approximately 210 yards. So that breaks it down for you. So for each color, like this, for this size bag, you're using approximately 225 yards for the base of the bag. And then we'll talk about the handles when we get to them, but if you don't want to make your bag reversible, then you won't need as much for the handles. And of course, you're also crocheting a small bit for the bottom. To begin my tote bag, I'm going to start it just like I started the zipper pouch by chaining a long length. And this I'm going to do 80 chains. So here you see I have a nice long chain, and I'm going to add one more chain to make 81 chains. Now if you want to make your tote bag a different size, all you have to do is chain an even number of chains and then add one more chain. So you could do 40, you could do 120. You just want to make sure it's an even number, and then you add one more chain, skip that first chain, and now I'm going to do a single crochet in the second chain from my hook. Yarn over, pull through the chain, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to work a single crochet in each chain all the way across these 80 chains, and I should have 80 single crochets when I'm finished. I've completed this row 1 of all single crochet, and a nice way to test how big your project is going to be is I'm going to fold this in half because we're going to work this stitch in the round, and this amount right here should be approximately 10 and a half inches long. Yep, so it's approximately 10 and a half inches, and this stitch pattern does tighten up a little bit as you go, so this beginning might be a little bit longer than the finished product. So without twisting my row 1 here, I'm going to bring the beginning of the row around to the end. So we're going to work in a round, but I've decided instead of adding a slip stitch here, I'm going to fasten off about 6 inches there, and you can do one more, a chain 1 to make a nice knot. Then we're going to use our yarn needle here, and again making sure that my row 1 is not twisted, I'm going to sew the end and the beginning together. And because it's all in one color, it's not going to show. I just whip stitch, go through one side, back out the other, like so, and I have the first yarn tail with the end yarn tail, and I'm going to tie those in a double knot, and we'll weave those in later. So you could see here, here's my last single crochet and my first one, and I have a nice tube created with just single crochet. So now we're going to start working our waistcoat single crochet stitch. Now before we start this stitch, I want to show you something. If you like the right side, the traditional right side of this stitch the best, and you don't plan on making your tote bag reversible or using this side, then you can go ahead and create this stitch just like I did for the easy zipper pouch, where you carry the next color behind the project and you don't have to fasten off at all for every color change. And I just changed to the next color with my last yarn over of each round. If you do it that way, you will have your yarn carried along the back side of your project. So this is why I developed this technique, or this strategy you could say, so this side doesn't have this diagonal bunch of yarn tails. But again, if you like this side, then you can do the easy way where you don't have to fasten off and you just carry the yarn along. And for that technique, just click on the link in the description below to watch the easy zipper pouch pattern, and you'll be doing the same thing. Instead of 2 colors, you'll do 3. But since I want to use this other side as the main side of my tote bag, I'm going to show you how we do this stitch so it looks its best on the back side with the color changes. So I will have to weave in ends, but if you do it every couple rows, it's really not that bad, and I think it's worth it for the beautiful stitch pattern. So I'm going to do this pretty light blue first. So I'm going to put my slip knot on my hook, and I can work wherever I want. I don't have to start right here at the technical beginning, but I'm going to do that for now. So my first stitch was right here, and I'm going to skip the first one and work into the second stitch. And for the waistcoat stitch, We don't put our hook under the top 2 loops. We put our hook right into the heart of the single crochet, and I like to press down and to the left. It seems to help get right in there. And on the back side, you'll see how on the back side of the single crochet you have these 2 legs, and then you have this crossbar, and that's right below the top 2 loops. See this crossbar, 2 legs. So when I insert my hook into the heart of the stitch, I'm going between those 2 legs. See if I can do it without looking. Between those 2 legs, but under the crossbar. So if you look where I put my hook, it's between those 2 legs, but under that crossbar. So if you're having trouble seeing if you're doing it in the right place, flip your project over and look on the back. And then I just complete a single crochet as normal. Yarn over, pull through the stitch, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And then I'm going to do another one right in that same place. But since I've already gone once, it's much easier to do the second one. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And I've just done 2 waistcoat single crochets. Now I'm going to skip the next stitch and work in the stitch after. Same thing. Push kind of down and to the left. Get right into the heart of the stitch. And that's all we do. We skip 1 stitch and then do 2 waistcoat stitches in the next stitch. I'm going to do that all the way around. And then I'll show you the way that you need to fasten off so the wrong side looks the best with all these colors. Skip 1, 2 waistcoat stitches. And in order for this stitch pattern to work, you need to have the right side facing for the entire project. So that's why we're going to work in the round. I've gone around with my row 2 blue round, and I'm about to do my last waistcoat stitch. So I put my hook in, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and now here's how you want to end. I'm going to cut about 6 to 7 inches, but I'm not going to do another yarn over. I'm just going to pull through and tighten up the stitch just a little bit. And now I'm going to use my yarn needle, and I'm going to do an invisible join with this yarn tail. So for this invisible join, we're going to be doing this every round. You're going to skip the first stitch here, and you're going to insert the needle under both loops of the second stitch. And you're going to pull through like so. And this is kind of mimicking that first stitch. Then we're going to take our yarn needle and go down through that last stitch, right like so. But at the same time, I like to kind of weave this yarn tail in through the back of that last stitch and maybe the stitch next to it, just a little bit like this. Okay, so we're going back down through the center of the last stitch and then out the back through the loops on the back. So you see that? It's long right now, this long loop, and that mimics that first stitch. And then we pull it tight a little bit, and there we go. We've joined the end of the round with the beginning of the round, and then we're going to be able to weave in these yarn tails here. Now what I do recommend is that you wait to weave yarn tails in after you've gone maybe 3 or 4 rounds past this one. If you were to weave the yarn tails in right now, it would interfere with your ability to get into the heart of the single crochets right around here. So we're going to wait a couple rounds. So now we're going to start the white. So I put my slip knot on my hook. And again, I can start in that same spot, but whatever I do, I'm going to start in the second waistcoat single crochet. See how there are 2 waistcoat single crochets grouped together. 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. So I always want to start the round and work into the second one. So here's a group of 2, and I'm going to pick this second one. So with my slip knot on my hook, I'm going to go right into the heart of the stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then I'm going to do a second one right in there. And now I'll skip this one and do 2 in the next one. So it's the same thing, just showing you how the 3 colors work together. And I'm going to repeat that all the way around, and when I end here, I'm not going to do a chain 1 at the end to knot it. I'm just going to pull through. So I'll show you the join one more time. Here's my last group of the 2 waistcoat stitches together. So I'm going to work into the second one, do 1 waistcoat stitch, do the second, and now I'm going to cut 6 to 7 inches off and then keep pulling through. So I have a finished stitch that looks like that. Thread the yarn tail on my yarn needle and then skip the first stitch and go under both loops of the second stitch. You might want to make sure that you go over the top of that first stitch, and then I'm going to go back down through that last stitch and at the same time work through just a few of those last stitches. There we go, see that? And then I pull it snug and I have my invisible join. So I will keep going in this manner, repeating in my red, blue, white color pattern, and you'll see it's already starting to develop here on the back. And after we do a few rows, after you do your invisible join for 1 row, then you can go down about 2 or 3 rows and weave in the ends. And I'll show you that when I have more of the bag completed. So here you can see my tote bag with several rows completed, and I just wanted to show you how I like to weave in the ends on the wrong side. But of course, technically with this tote bag, this is the right side that's facing you when you do the stitch, but we're going to turn it inside out so that this side, the wrong side of the stitch, is facing. So I found that when doing this stitch that it worked best if you did maybe 3 or 4 rows and then stopped and then went back and wove the ends in to the first 2 or 3. I don't want to weave the ends in to these last 2 rows because when I'm working my next row, it will actually interfere. So I want to wait to weave in these ends. So I'll just show you how I do it here. I just want to make it look like the rest of the stitch. So I want to make sure. So here you can see there's this knot from joining, and I just want to put my needle through the stitch like so, and that makes it look like all the rest. And then I'm going to continue going through the stitches across here, making sure to go inside the other row of the different color so it doesn't show. And by doing it this way, And if you want, you can work back, but the stitches are pretty tight, so it should hold. And then I clip the excess. So this white one here needs to be woven in. And then, like I said, I'm going to work up until about 2 rows before, and that's all that I'm going to do. So I'll do one more here and zoom it in so you can see a little better. And I just want that knot to kind of be hidden. So I'm going to go through the stitch next door. And pull it like so. And now they all look the same, and you won't see these joins when you flip out over your bag and use this side as your right side. And I'll show you if I want to go back the way I came. Just like to turn my crochet project and go back through the white stitches like so. And if I pop out right through the middle of the white stitch like this, then that end will really be hidden well inside the white stitch. Okay? So I've completed most of my bag now. I wanted it to be about 10 inches tall and approximately 10 inches wide. And I wanted to make sure that I ended on a red row. So if you want this to be your right side, then this is how I recommend you finish off the last row. So you put your slip knot on your hook, and I'm just going to work a single crochet in each stitch around, working through both loops as normal, just like this. And it will give a nice finished look if this is the front for you. And if you look on the back, it looks fine as well if you want to make this reversible. But since for my tote, I actually would like the inside to be the front, this side, I'm going to show you a different way to finish off the top. So I'm going to undo the single crochets, but I'll put my slip knot back on my hook, and I'm going to turn my tote inside out, which is now the right side that I want. Right like this. And with my slip knot on my hook, I'm going to work in between these groupings of single crochets. So I'm going to put my hook in here and work 2 single crochets here, then 2 in here, 2 in here, 2 in here, 2 in here, and you'll see it'll make this look like the stitches that we've been doing this whole time. And I really like how it looks. And that just continues the stitch pattern, but still gives a nice edging that doesn't look incomplete, I think. So you just skip this group. See how there's a group here and a group here? And I'm going to go right below, like so. And I'll just work that all the way around and finish off in the same way that I finished off when I did all these rounds. Now when I'm ready to work on the bottom of the bag, what I decided to do was for this size bag, I chained 33, and then I worked a single crochet in the second chain from my hook and single crocheted in each chain across, so I have 32 single crochets in each row. And I chained one, turned, and worked back and forth until I had this long rectangle that is 9 rows of single crochet. And if you'd like to see, the length is a little bit longer. It's about 10.5 inches long and 2 inches wide. So my bag is going to be about 2 inches wide. Now, in order to attach it, you can do this with any size bag. So I'm going to extend my working loop so it doesn't unravel on me, because I'm going to crochet the bottom to my tube. So I make sure that the side I want facing out is turned right side out. Then I'm going to fold the bottom rectangle in half, and you can use clips or pin, and I'm going to mark the center here and on the other side. And now I'm going to fold the tube in half so that I can find the center right here. So I'm lining up centers to centers and pin both sides. Okay? And it doesn't really matter which side is facing out, whichever one you think looks the best. And I'm going to line up those 2 pins and go ahead and pin across, because I'm going to single crochet across the rectangle. Now you'll see that the rectangle does not go all the way to where you folded it in half, and that's okay, because I want some depth to my tote bag. So by doing this technique, you can make your tote bag any size and create a bottom that fits. So what I did is, when I folded my tote bag in half, folded the tube in half, I knew how wide I wanted it. I wanted it about 10.5 inches wide, and then this extra is going to go down the sides. So first I'm going to do the other side of the rectangle and the other side of the tube, pinning the rectangle across. And I'm working out from the center. So you could see it pinned on both sides. And now this side of my tote bag, I'm going to press out, and it should fit right there along the short side of this bottom rectangle. So I'll just pin one there, and then on the other side I'll do the same thing. Pull it out so it matches like so. And since I didn't fasten off, I'm going to start working right where I left off, right in that working loop. Tighten it back up. I'm going to chain one, and now I want to make sure that I go through both thicknesses, the tube and the bottom rectangle, going through both loops in that top stitch. Yarn over, and I'm just going to do a slip stitch. Take out the pins as I need to. Just make sure the stitches are lining up with each other. And there you can see the slip stitch makes a really pretty finished edge. Like so. And I'll work this all the way around until I come back to my first slip stitch, and I'll join that with another slip stitch and weave in my ends. Now when you're ready to make the handles, I decided to make 4 pieces for all the handles. So I doubled them, that way I could have a reversible bag. But if you don't want a reversible bag, you just make 1 handle. I do recommend though, if you're not going to do a double thickness like I did, that you double your strand of yarn, and that way you'll have a nice strong and sturdy handle if you're only going to do 1 thickness. So what I did is I just chained 80 plus 2, and then I worked a half double crochet along one side of the chain and half double crochet along the next. So I'll show you with a small example of how I did that. So here's just a small chain. My handles are 25 inches long, so that's why I chained 82. And I skipped the first 2 chains, yarn over, and then I work the half double crochet in each chain across. A nice thick strong stitch that works up quickly. So you would do half double crochet all the way across, and when you get to the end of your chain, chain 1, and then I'm going to slip stitch across the bottom, slip stitch in the side of the last half double crochet, slip stitch in that last chain, and then you chain 2 at the end, and now I'm going to work half double crochet in the other side of the chain. So I'll put my hook into that first chain, complete the half double crochet, yarn over right in there, and so on. And you'll work all the way down the other side of the chain to get you a handle that's approximately 1 inch wide, but looks nice and even because you've worked in a round and you have the right side of the half double crochet showing on both ends. And then when you get to the end, I do the same thing. Chain 1, single crochet, slip stitch across. This is the starting chain, and then slip stitch in that first stitch. Alright, so this is just a mini version of what your 4 handle pieces will look like. For the handles, I decided to do a double thickness for each handle, and that way I can sew it to the front and the back of the tote bag, and it would be reversible and really secure. So I'll show you how to sew them on once we get them completed. I skipped the first 12 stitches. So I skipped 12 on this end, 12 on this end, and I slip stitched the 2 pieces together and stopped when there were 12 stitches left. So I'll show you that right here. And I put my slip knot on my hook, but I have a very, very long yarn tail because I'm going to use this yarn tail to sew these handle ends to my bag. So I have 3, 6, 9, 12 right here, and I'm going to join and work through both thicknesses. And I yarn over, pull through both thicknesses and the loop on my hook for a slip stitch. And then I go through the next 2 stitches, as you can see. yarn over, pull through both. And I do that across until I have 12 stitches left on both pieces, and I fasten off. And I'm going to make 2 of these. So a total of 4 handle pieces, and I'm crocheting 2 of them together. And this gives me a nice sturdy handle that's not going to stretch. And then I can sew each of these pieces onto my tote. And there you have it. That's how you make the crochet tote bag. You can make yours reversible like mine, so you have this pretty bead-like stitch on one side, and then the pretty waistcoat single crochets into each other to create that pretty stitch on the other side. Make sure to give us a thumbs up if you like this project, and don't forget to click to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and happy crocheting!